Now, I don't know about you, but I love a good all-American story. And I've got an all-American story for you. For those of you who know this could be very boring, but for those of you who don't, this could be fairly interesting. A couple years ago, when I was talking at Prepper Camp, Rick Austin with the Secret Garden of Survival asked me to talk at Prepper Camp. It was my first time public speaking. I was absolutely horrible. I should have taken his advice and got through his training with him before I did it. But, you know, I survived to live another day, and since then I've done a lot more with my life. So I'm sure I'd do a lot better, Rick, if you ever want to invite me back. But anyway, Prepper Camp, Rick handed out to teachers and people who were talking there these little KaBar knives. It's not KaBar, it's KaBar. And this is just, you know, this is a cool belt knife because it goes on at an angle, and let's see if I can, it'll stay in once you get it in there, that's for sure. And what's nice is if somebody is coming at you, you can grab it with this hand and pull it out and come across, and, you know, it's got a dangerous little hook blade. The other thing you can do is if you can't come at it with this hand, you can come at it with this hand. You come up and get the underside of them. So this KaBar is a self-defense tool, and I think it's a beautifully made knife. But you know, it's interesting because you would think with all the knives and stuff that I like, I would know a thing or two about what a KaBar is, what the history of the knife is. And so I thought I'd share that with you a little bit because, number one, when you hear the name KaBar, a lot of people think it's KaBar. They think it's from some other country somewhere, right? And it is an American company. It's an American company that was established here actually from Wallace Brown, the son of the guy who started Case Knives. And Wallace and his brother Emerson started a knife company. It was United something or other. They sold razor blades initially. And they owned a number of cutlery businesses over the years. But they started the company, I want to say it was shortly after the Civil War. It was kind of when a lot of the cutlery companies really started taking off. And that was a period of time of good feelings. Wars were over, so selling razors was kind of a big deal. The brothers actually started out selling razors for other companies. They worked for some of the Case Knives companies, and it seemed like a lot of these people owned a ton of different cutlery companies with different brands and different names, including the Brown brothers. But in any case, they started the KaBar way back then under United. Let me go back here because they did start United, and United is what eventually created the KaBar knife. But KaBar, the name of the company, wasn't actually named that for quite some time. What happened is when Roosevelt came into being president, he made kind of being an outdoorsman popular again. So people stopped buying so many, you know, razor blades and keeping themselves clean cut. And they started going out and buying hunting knives, outdoor knives. And so they started creating some of these outdoor knives under Wallace. And when he passed away pretty young in his 40s. Emerson, his brother, actually designed some of the first kind of high-tech, all the gadgets, survival knives. They just didn't catch on because back then people were like, why do you need a compass on your knife? Why do you need a light on your knife? You know, he was trying to create these things that a lot of people just didn't understand. Didn't feel that they needed. They just needed a knife, which is kind of how I feel nowadays anyway. But anyway, after Emerson died a young death, Wallace's son, who would be the great-grandson of the Case family, came in and took over the company in his mid-20s. That was right before World War II. And as World War II kind of unfolded, he helped design the USMC knife that was standard issue throughout the Marines and the Army. The thing is that you couldn't have all the knives coming from one manufacturer. Everybody had to manufacture what they could because we were in war, and whoever could build things needed to provide. And so anybody who had a USMC knife from World War II, if it's a KaBar, it will actually say KaBar on it. They were the only company that actually put some sort of brand on it. And they just branded that knife. It was still United Cutlery or something like that during World War II when they were making these knives. But they didn't put their name on it. They just put the KaBar on the knife. And they made the best knife. And so it became very, very popular with all those guys taken off to the Army and the Marines. And so as people came back, they wanted to hold on to their KaBars, and the knife brand just became a huge success from there. But this knife company just has a story of tragedy, kind of restarting several times, complete failure, to becoming one of the best known military knife companies in actually the world, because the KaBar knives were known after World War II. They were known all over the world for the KaBar, and then they renamed the company KaBar after that particular USMC knife became so popular. But the name KaBar is also interesting. It's kind of have you guys ever seen that Leonardo DiCaprio movie, The Revenant, or something like that? Anyway, there was a hunter in Alaska when they first started making these hunting knives, and he had gone out and was hunting, and he took a shot at a grizzly bear. He didn't take the bear down. The bear came after him, took the gun out of his hands, and so he reached and he pulled out his United Cutlery hunting knife and killed the bear. And then, because he was able to kill the bear and survive, he skinned the bear and sent the bear fur skin back to the original owners of the United Cutlery, Wallace and Emerson, with a note explaining that their hunting knife was the best in the world and it had saved him from a bear, and he called it the Kill-A-Bear knife. And so from that incident, that's where they ended up coming up with the KaBar knife, the KaBar brand. Because bar would have been the way that they pronounced bear in Alaska during that time. So that's kind of an interesting story. But I think if you're looking for a good all-American brand that's been around for as long as, not as long as Case, but it's been around for, maybe since post-Civil War, not too long after the Civil War, maybe 1880s. KaBar is a fantastic brand. And I love the quality of this knife is actually very nice. The plastic case is virtually indestructible. I carry this with me a lot, and I'll use it to cut hay bales open, because if I'm out working and it's on my hip, I know I could just easily grab it and pull, and this thing's coming out, and I can cut whatever it is I want to. So I don't even use this that much for self-defense, but I think that this was one of the best gifts somebody could have gotten me. Now, they are made in Taiwan now. They're no longer made in the US, which is an unfortunate thing. I hate seeing some of these big American brands source everything overseas, but I've learned to pick my battles with that stuff. There are some American brand knives that make their stuff here in the US, but this is a knife company with an all-American story of making it through the Great Depression, making it through 2 world wars, coming out on top as one of the best knife companies in the world, and they're still ticking with their KaBar brand. Like I said, I think it's a beautiful knife. I don't have much else I can say about a knife like this, so I figured I'd share that little story with you. But Rick, I do love this knife. If anybody out there finds one of those World War II USMC knives with the KaBar brand on it, I would really love to have one of those. Feel free to send it to me. I'll give you my P.O. box. I would love to have one of those knives. I mean, that would be just like the ultimate to have. I would probably use that as my EDC. I've been looking for a good fixed blade that I could just carry around the ranch with me, because a pocket knife is good. It's nice to have in your pocket to open things up, but sometimes I feel like a fixed blade has more uses than your standard pocket knife. So I've been looking for one. It was a vintage Mora knife. It was beautiful on eBay. People were bidding on it for like 23 bucks. I was the highest bidder up to the last hour at $25. I don't know what happened. I went to bed, woke up the next morning, sold for $33. This thing was in like mint shape, a vintage Mora. And I know you could buy a new one for 30 bucks, but it's just not the same. Like they don't make things the way that they used to. Everything's made in, well, you know where it's made. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.